Shalom, people. Shalom, shalom, shalom. I hope you all can hear me, y'all. Shalom, shalom, shalom. All praise and glory goes to the Most High Yah. The Most High Yah is one, and there's no other gods before him or after him. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Shalom, Elah, Israel. So this video is concerning Isaiah 53. Excuse me. This video is concerning Isaiah 53 in the linguistics point of view. And I am going to prove to you today that Isaiah 53 couldn't be talking about Jesus Christ, period. Even from a linguistics point of view, and also from different Bible versions, you can clearly see it's not talking about him at all. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to go into Isaiah 53 from the Hebrew point of view, so you may understand that indeed it's not him, but indeed it is King Hezekiah. Some may oppose to say, hey, it's Israel. But from my point of view, I'm just here to show you my point of view, that is King Hezekiah. All right. So let me go ahead and get my brother Mariel over here too, so he can check this out too. Shalom, Elora, Elora, Aloha, green butterfly. That's all I'm just gonna start calling you, just green butterfly. But this video is looking at Isaiah 53 from a linguistics point of view, which is the best way to go into Isaiah 53, if you ask me. We can't sit up here and play this, hey, who's this? Guess who this is? See, it sounds like this person, but in reality, it's not this individual y'all keep calling. And we're going to have scriptures. We're going to have all those things. So this is what we about to do. We're going to go to it from a linguistics point of view. So get your popcorn, get your beer, get whatever you trying to get. Kick back, lay back. You ain't doing nothing today. Now let's go ahead and look at Isaiah 53, and let's go ahead and take our notes. You feel me? All right, look at, okay, here we go. Shalom Hezekiah, Shalom Denya, Shalom Anthony Glenn. Like I said, get y'all drinks, get whatever y'all going to do. You ain't doing nothing on this good Tuesday. So let's go ahead. Shalom, Jeremy YAHUAH. So let's go ahead and dive into Isaiah 53 from a linguistics point of view. I'm just letting a little bit more followers get in. We're going to go ahead and do this thing. All right. So we see the first verse. Who hath believed our report? And to whom is the arm of YAHUAH revealed? Now, a lot of y'all need to ask yourselves, who is this talking? Who have believed our report? And to whom is the arm of YAHUAH revealed? On my side, I say that's Isaiah impersonating the Gentiles. And you could start at Isaiah 52 to see that. But I'm just going to start at Isaiah 53 today, because there's plenty of stuff I want to show you just from the linguistics point of view. So let's go ahead again. Like I said, it's the Gentiles. You can read Isaiah 52 to verify that it is the Gentiles that said, who has believed our report? Isaiah impersonating the Gentiles. So let's look at the first thing, the first word that should come to mind first when you're looking at the first verse. To whom is the arm? To whom is the arm? What is the arm? What is an arm? Every time y'all brought up arm in the context of the scriptures, what was that? We looking at the child root for right now for arm, which is the word zeroah. Zeroah. Strong's number H222. 20 or whatever. But arm means forearm, shoulder, or strength. We can ride with strength. but we know it's not talking about a forearm or a shoulder. But we could also take strength, an arm as a symbol of strength. Now we really talking about something right here, because when we get to see, it's political or a military power. And we already know who the arm of the Most High was. There was two people. Well, I say two peoples. Let me just say that. First, it is the king of Israel. That's his first arm. That's the first arm of Yahuwah. The second arm of Yahuwah is the nation of Israel. Those are arms of Yahuwah. And let's get down here so you can see a little bit more. Of course, the final arm is a shoulder or of an animal sacrifice. But from this context, we can tell it's not dealing with an animal sacrifice. So mainly it's dealing with mighty, strength, and power. But in the context of Isaiah 53, if you read it in context, which is how you figure out every scripture, it says, "Who hath believed our report, our news, our message?" So you may know what a report is in Hebrew. It means a fame, a doctrine, a rumor, or news, or tiding. A mention. And they mention this in Isaiah 53. Do y'all understand? I'm glad y'all follow. Okay. So now we understand the art of the power and the art of army. But it says of Yahuwah revealed. What is the revealed? It means to uncover, to open, to discover, to uncover and remove, to remove, depart, to go into exile. But we know it's not, this proper verse is not talking about exile. And it says to be uncovered. The only things we can really ride with right now is uncovered and discovered, and also nakedness, as in to uncover, seeing what is under. Publish, reveal. All right. And so y'all can see other scriptures that relates to it. Like, for example, Genesis 9:21, and he drank the wine and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent. That was talking about Noah. All right. And another one, Leviticus 18:7. The nakedness of thy father and the nakedness of thy mother shall thou not uncover, which means just to reveal, basically. So when we go back up to Isaiah 53 verse 1, that we should know that this is an individual that Yah is showing his power to. And this individual is also saying, who's going to believe our report? And to whom is the power or military force or king, that's also used as Yahuwah's arm, has been revealed. Who is this person that Yah revealed this power to? Who is this person that Yah has showed his works to? And we all know the answer, family. It is the nation of Israel. Also, it's the kings of Israel too. So y'all may know that. Y'all got to look at these scriptures from a linguistics point of view. Don't try to guess these scriptures. So it's the arm, it's not his salvation. No, it just told you. It didn't say that. It said power or military or political stance. Also is known as kings or the nation of Israel. Those are in his own power, those are the only three things that Yah has said that was his power in context. Now we're going to get to Isaiah 53 verse 2. Right? We're going to get to Isaiah 53 verse 2. And it reads, "For he shall grow up before him as a plant, and as a root out of a dry ground. He have no form. He have no form. He have no form." What does that mean? It says, under outline biblical usage, it reads shape form, outline, figure, or appearance. So why is Isaiah saying this person doesn't have an appearance? He doesn't have a shape. He don't have a face. He don't have a resemblance. Why is he saying that? Now down here, it also said he is not beautiful. He's not comely. He is not fair. That's also when it refers to as well. Exactly, Marielle. It's not Jesus. Because nobody in the New Testament ain't called Jesus ugly and none of that stuff. And we all knew the guy had a form and all that. But we know this is just a metaphor of how people, you know, are attracted to this person, how they desire this person. But Isaiah 52 is just clearly telling you that this people, these individuals that Isaiah is pretending like doesn't desire this individual or people. So like I said, a lot of people say this passage is talking about Israel. Some people say it's talking about Israel and Hezekiah. But after we finish this, you will clearly see it's talking about Hezekiah. Now it says he is despised. Verse 3. He is despised and rejected. We know what despised means. It means hated. Rejected of men. Of men. Now here's the problem, real quick. Here's the problem. When did, in this passage, it didn't say the nation of Israel hated this individual. It didn't say that. No matter how much you're trying to put it, because you want to connect it to your Jesus Christ. But it never said that this person or this individual or this group of people didn't hate. I mean, it didn't say that Israel hated this individual. It didn't give no name of the individual that was hating. It just said he is despised and rejected of men. Of men. Context, people. Context. Context. That's what we're dealing with, is context. Markeisha, Markeisha, we're going to get to you. This ain't what the video is about. Stick to the video. He is despised and rejected of men. Now we look at the word men. Let's see if we see the nation of Israel. It says man, a man or a male in contrast of a woman or female, a husband, human being or person, a servant, mankind, champion, a great man, whosoever. It didn't say the nation of Israel hated this individual. It didn't say that. But it says Isha, as in husband, masculine. But it also goes for any or one. So that's why a lot of people also fail it and say, well, this is the nation of Israel. Well, in the context, when you're dealing with context, in Isaiah chapter 53, verse 3, it doesn't say Israel. It says rejected of men. So you need to understand that. And don't add to scriptures ever again. Okay, let's continue. It says a man of sorrows. What does the word sorrow mean? So this person that's rejected by men is a man of sorrows. Because after we get done with the linguistics, I'm going to match it up and show you who this is talking about. And the Strong's number for sorrow is H4341 is Mako. Mako or Mako. It means pain, sorrow, pain from a physical sense and pain from a mental sense. You will see that this will both be from a pain from a mental sense and a physical sense. It will be pain from both when we continue later on in the scriptures, and you will see that this man is taking pain from a mental sense and a physical sense. And we will also discover what pain this is. We will also see what's causing him this pain too, right here in the Isaiah 53, coming from the linguistics point of view. And we will see who is the only person in context of the scripture that has got this certain type of pain from a linguistics point of view. But right here it says Makob, sometimes a Makob also feminine line in Isaiah 53 verse 3, Makobah, which is anguish or figuratively affliction. Sorrow could also mean affliction, a grief, which is, you're going to see what the grief really was, and it's pain and sorrow. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, my people. Cool, John. I'm going to check that out. I'm going to check that out in my inbox. Okay. So we see he is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows, and acquainted with grief. Let's see what acquainted means. So we know that we see that the sorrow means pain from a physical sense and a mental sense. So we see the next word is acquainted, which is Strong's number 3045, yada or yada. It's the primitive root. And it means to know, to learn, to know, to perceive, to see, to find, to discern, to discriminate, to distinguish. So this man has knowledge. He has knowledge of his sorrow and his pain. That's basically what it's saying. He's admit the pain. He confesses the pain. Christ didn't confess the pain. To know, to be acquainted, to know personally, carnally, to be instructed, to perceive. Let's go on down here to Strong's definitions again. It says to know properly, to ascertain by seeing, and used in a great variety of senses, figuratively, literally, also the care of recognition, and instruction and designation, also in punishment. So this guy's getting punished for what it's saying. But in the reality of it, it looks like it's saying that he's acknowledging his sorrows and his pain. That's basically what it's really just saying. That's all it really just saying. So we go back. So as again, we see in Isaiah chapter 53, verse 3, he's saying he is hated, he is rejected of men, not of Israel, but it says of men, a man of pain, which is sorrow and grief, and he has knowledge of what? Acquainted. He has a knowledge of what? He has a knowledge of what? What is his grief? What is causing him his pain and sorrow? We're about to see what he's acquainted with. What did the Most High give him? It says Keloah or Keloah or Kola or whatever it's called. But it says sickness. Sickness. He was given sickness. He was given disease. This guy was acquainted with sickness and diseases. Diseases. He wasn't getting beaten. He wasn't getting stabbed by a spear on his side. He was getting acquainted with diseases. And so let's prove it, because your King James Version have failed to put the correct term there. He failed to put the correct term there. He has diseases. He is sick. That's what his grief was. That's what he was acquainted of. So let's go to the 1917 Tanakh. A 1917 Tanakh. Matter of fact, Bible Hub. Let's go to Bible Hub. We're going to go to Bible Hub real quick. And we're going to read it. 1917 Tanakh. Matter of fact, yeah, I got it right here. Y'all can't see it. So I'm going to pull it up. If y'all can, go to Bible Hub or go to a regular Tanakh or whatever you got. And I'm going to read it for you. I'm going to read it for you because I got one right here in my hand. Because y'all see it. The grief, the sickness, what he was afflicted by. It said he was rejected by men, and he had sorrow, and he had knowledge of what? Of his grief. What was his grief? His sickness. So we're going to read Isaiah chapter 53, verse 3 from the Tanakh. And you're going to see that it's matching up the same thing. It says he is despised and forsaken of men, a man of pains, and acquainted with disease. It says that. Go on your Bible Hub and look up the correct version of Isaiah chapter 53, verse 3. And even the Blue Letter Bible is telling you the same thing. This guy in Isaiah 53 was afflicted with disease, not stabbed on the side with a spear on a cross. That ain't what happened. It's not about Jesus Christ. So when we look at it from a linguistics point of view, we see even in the KJV, which they got wrong, we see even they is admitting the straight up truth. And you know, the truth will set you free. All right. Can we pull up another version and what they say the correct one? Let's see if they can do that. No, I doubt it. Let's see. Isaiah 53. See, here we go. This is Isaiah 53, verse 3. In the same sense, this is from the next version. And you see it switched. I switched the version so you can see. Y'all saw it from the KJV point of view. Now y'all looking at it from the Septuagint point of view. The New English Translation point of view. Look at Isaiah 53, verse 3. It said he was despised and rejected by people. By people. It didn't say Israel. It said by people. One who experienced pain. He has the knowledge of his pain, and he was acquainted with what? A illness, a sickness, a disease. But KJV, he has failed to put the correct version. Let's see if another version has done that correctly. Let's check out the new KJV. Let's see if they did the correct one. Nope, this one said grief. Let's go to another one. Let's go to the ESV version. Let's see what they said. It also says grief. Let's go to the NASB version. Let's see what that says. It also says grief. We're going to go to one more. We're going to go to the Young Literal Translation. Here we go. The Young Literal Translation had got it correct. It says, he is despised and left of men, a man of pains, and acquainted with sickness. Sickness. So you see they're going accordingly. They're using the correct terms in these other versions, but somehow King James Version and the Blue Letter Bible is exposing the King James Version and showing you that they're lying when that word should have been sickness. Well, so let's go back real quick and let's look at the different Bible verses. Let's look at different Bible verses that has the same word, the same strong number. It says, he bare the sins of many. We're going to get there, sis. Just hold on, Markeisha. Follow along with us. But it says, this is the same Strong's number, H2483, the word for grief, which is sickness and disease. So it's already cut already. It's not Christ. It's not Christ already. So let's go down real quick. Let's look at the same word. Let's look at the same word coming from different verses. The Strong's number H2483, the same word that was used in Isaiah 53. Let's look at it from a different verses. Now, right here, this is Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 15, and it says, Yahuwah will take away from thee all sickness, and will put none of the evil diseases of Egypt, which thou knowest, upon you. So why is y'all implementing this word as sickness? What's going down again? Deuteronomy 28 verse 53. Then Yahuwah will make it thy plagues. Wow, plagues. What comes with plagues? Diseases and sickness. A wonderful, the plague, wonderful. In the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues of long continuance of sore sickness. Sicknesses. Let's get one more. Deuteronomy 28 verse 61. Also every sickness and every plague, which is not written in the book of the law, them will Yahuwah bring upon you until thou be destroyed. So Isaiah 53 is using the same linguistic word, which is koli or kola, which means sickness and disease. Sick. And we see in other Bible versions they use the correct term, sickness. So why is the King James Version is implementing something else when they already told you the correct version? That's interesting, isn't it? That's very, very interesting. That's very interesting. So now we see that Isaiah 1 is about who is this individual that Yah has showed his power to, and that's Israel. That happened when Israel came out of Egypt, and Yah showed his power to the whole nation. It was a report, it was a rumor, they didn't believe it. But the nations, they didn't find no beauty in these people. When you see in verse 2. Then when you get in verse 3, they said this individual or this person or these people, he is despised and rejected of men. He is not despised and rejected of the nation of Israel. It didn't say that. How is this Israel talking about Israel? Come on now. He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows, and he has knowledge of his diseases. Now let's continue, and it says, and we hid as it were our faces. We see that the word "our" is in italics. That means it was added. We hid as it were faces, because the word "our" is really not in there. And it says, from him he is despised, and we esteemed, which means we respected him not. Again, it didn't say this is the nation of Israel. It didn't say this is the nation of Israel hating this individual. Right? So let's continue. Marquisha, if you don't shut up and just listen. Shut up and listen, Marquisha. Be quiet. You don't know what you're talking about. You're talking ahead of yourself. You might get blocked. Keep on. Now, Isaiah 53 verse 4. Like I said, we're doing this whole entire chapter. So now you got knowledge, and you know this individual or people had got a disease. He got a sickness. Now it says, surely he hath borne our griefs. We see the word griefs, right? Then we just broke this word down. It says Strong's number 2483. It's the same Strong's number up here in verse 3. Strong's number 2483. And it's the word disease. Again, that's located in verse 4. Now it says, surely he had borne. Now let's see what the word born is. It's NASA. It's a verb. It's a primitive root. Now it says to lift, to bear up, to carry, to take. To lift, to bear up, to carry, to take, to lift up, to bury, to care, to carry, to support, to sustain, to send, to endure, to take away, to carry off, to forgive. He ain't taking your sin. He can't take your sin. He can't die for your sin either, according to Ezekiel chapter 18. So evidently, our people as a nation is taking this in the wrong way. Let's look at somebody else who carried the sins of Israel. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 4. We're going to go to Ezekiel chapter 4. Right? Now we're going to look at it from this perspective of one carrying someone else's sins. We for to see that, right? So we for to see, it has to be the same context. It got to be the same context, because we know in Ezekiel 18, Yah said no man could die for your sin. So surely we got a misunderstanding of what's going on. So let's go right here. Markeisha, hold on. Let me do something with you real quick, because you're not listening. You're not listening. You're not here to listen. You're here to get an audience. I'm gonna give you one more chance. If you don't stop, I'm gonna block you. I'm gonna block you, Markeisha. You better stop, or I'm gonna block you. This is your last chance, because you're not proving nothing out here. Now, Markeisha, whatever your name is, stop. This is your last chance, or you're gonna get blocked. Now, in Isaiah chapter 53, starting at verse 4, it said that this dude born the grief, the diseases of people. Some people say, oh, there's sins. He ain't bearing no sins. But it got to be in the same context of how other individuals bore the sins of Israel back then. Did they really carry the sins of Israel and that individual got killed for their transgressions? Or was it something else and we don't understand it? That the New Testament is creating a new type of bearing of sin, which Yah has opposed, which Yah opposes in Ezekiel chapter 18. So let's read and let's see Ezekiel bearing the sins of Israel. It says, thou also, son of man, which is Ezekiel, take thou a towel and lay it before thee, and portray it upon the city, even Jerusalem, and lay siege against it, and build a fort against it, and cast a mount against it, and set the count also against it, and set battering rams against it, round about. Moreover, take unto thee an iron pan, and set it for a wall of iron between you and the city, and set thy face against it, and it shall be besieged, and thou shalt lay siege against it. This shall be a sign to the house of Israel. Now here we go. This is what we've been looking for right here. Bearing the sins. It says, lie thy also upon thy left side, and lay the iniquity of the house of Israel upon it. Upon what? His side. He's bearing it. According to the number of days that thou shalt lie upon thy debt. According to the number of thy days, of the days that thou shalt lie upon it, thou shalt bear their iniquity. He's bearing the iniquity of Israel. And it says, for I laid upon thee 3 years of their iniquity, according to the number of the days, 319 days. So shalt thou bear the iniquity of the house of Israel. Wait a minute now. So does this mean he's going to die for their sins? No, that's not what he means. That's not what he's talking about. He's saying he's responsible for their iniquity. If you read the whole book of Ezekiel, how Yah's what Yah's making Ezekiel do, how he's making these little sand castles and stuff, and he's destroying it. He's basically saying this is how he's bearing the iniquity of Israel. This is how Ezekiel's prophesizing and punishing the nation of Israel. That's how he's bearing it. He's bearing it. He's carrying it. It doesn't mean he's responsible for their iniquity and he's got to die for it. That's not what's going to happen. That's how it happened. He said right here, so shalt thou bear the iniquity of the house of Israel. He was telling Ezekiel that. So you go back. We're going to go back to Isaiah. We're going to go back to Isaiah 53, right? We're going to go back to Isaiah 53. Since we understand the art of bearing the iniquity of Israel. So this dude is just bearing it. He's bearing diseases. And whoever this is, they feel ashamed that this dude is bearing their diseases, which they deserve. Because, like I said, it's Hezekiah. Some people may say it's Israel, but I say it's Hezekiah. Again, our griefs is diseases when you look at it. And it says, and carried our sorrows. Surely he borne our diseases, and he carried our sorrows. What is sorrows? I already told you what sorrows was. Makab, which means pain. Physical pain and mental pain. He carried that. All because of what? His disease. Nothing about him getting stabbed on the side. Nothing about him getting stabbed on the side on the cross is because of his disease. Are you following, my people? I'm giving her a chance. I'll give her a chance. I'm going to give her a chance. I ain't going to block her. Let her feel confident in herself. But here we go. It says, surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. Yet we did esteem him stricken. He said, yet we did esteem him stricken. So it says he was stricken. They respected him restricken. They respected him stricken. So let's look at this word stricken. These people respected this individual or peoples, like y'all said. They respected him stricken, but they ain't respecting him as an individual. And the word stricken in Hebrew, the Strong's number H5060, which is naga. Or naga, not nigga, but naga. And it means to touch, reach. Hold on. Plus C. Here we go. It means to touch, reach, to strike, to touch. It also means to be stricken by disease, like I just told y'all. His grief was what in the context of the linguistics of this Isaiah 53? It was disease. The Most High stricken him with disease. The Most High touched him with disease. He was brought down with disease. So we go on down. Let's look at the same word. Let's look at the same word. We're going to look at Genesis chapter 12, verse 17. And Yahuwah plagued the same number for stricken. The same Strong's number for stricken. Yahuwah plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abraham's wife. Plague. Diseases. Let's go on down so you can see more what I was talking about. Like, for example, when an individual had obtained leprosy, let me show you that. Touch it, plague, touch it. Also in the same category, touch it. I was looking for the part about when one individual end up getting leprosy. I think that's in Exodus. I can find it. Nope, I can't find it. I guess it's not here. Listen, I'm just looking too fast. Let's see, the water. Waters wash itself. Water, yada yada yada. Okay, well, it's still in the same category. All right, here it is. Okay, here we go. It says, dang, where'd it go? It says something about leper. Aaron is a leper or have a running issue. If the seed of Aaron has a leper or running issue, whosoever touch it, it just simply means to touch. Plague and touch is just all in the same category, in a way. All right. My bad. Can y'all hear me now? Y'all should be able to hear me now. All right, now we go back. It just simply means that this person was touched. He was touched by the disease. He was stricken by the disease. That's all stricken means. That's all this stricken means. And smitten of God and afflicted. So let's look at it. Strong number 6031. So we already get the idea right now that the guy got disease. He has a disease. The Most High afflicted this guy with a disease. That's what it was. And nothing about somebody coming in and stabbing the guy with a spear. But here we go. It says afflicted, which is a noun, which is a verb. Afflict, to humble, to force. Pay attention to their words, to humble. This is the connection I'm going to show you. This is Hezekiah. It also means to bruise. It means to bruise. Getting stabbed on the side is not a bruise. It is not a bruise. You got straight up pierced. You got straight up, man, that's a hole on your side. That's not a bruise, fam. Like when I pop you across the head and you got a knot on the head. That's a bruise. But it says to be occupied and be bruised with. To afflict, oppress, humble. Be afflicted and be bowed down. To be troubled. Humiliated. Afflicted. Weaken oneself. Afflicted. Christ wasn't humiliated for what y'all say. Right. It took place in the days of Uzziah. I mean, not Uzziah, Isaiah, Hezekiah, Ahaz. So we see that this person has carried a disease and carried the pain, and he was respected, and they only respected him stricted, which means he was only respected with the plague, the submitting of God, and the Most High did it to humble him. That's exactly what the afflicted was. He did this to humble him. And we can see in Chronicles, wait, I'm speaking too ahead of myself. I ain't going to go there yet. Okay, Isaiah 53:5. But he was wounded. He was wounded. This is their favorite verse, but none of them looked at it from a linguistics point of view. This is their favorite verse in Isaiah 53. But, exactly, Hezekiah. But this is their favorite verse, Isaiah 53, verse 5. But they skip all the other parts where they clearly said this man got a disease. But it say he was wounded. He was wounded with what? He was wounded with what? A disease. He was wounded by a disease. Let's look at the word wounded. It got the word profane. the word defiled, the word polluted, the word break, slay, gather grapes, inherit, begin, man, pipe, players, prostitute, sorrow, stain, eat as in common things. Most of those things we can tell is not, but we can ride with to profane, defile, pollute, desecrate, begin, profane oneself, defile oneself, pollute oneself, ritually, sexually, to be polluted, be defiled. And you can be defiled with disease. You can see that when individuals had became a leper. To profane, to make, come, and defile, pollute, violate the honor or dishonor, to violate the covenant. But y'all say this is Christ, and y'all say Christ don't break the covenant. So clearly this couldn't be about him. But this dude was profaned. Your Christ wasn't so-called profaned. That's what y'all say. But it says this dude was wounded. He was profaned. He was defiled. He was defiled for our transgressions. He was bruised. What was he bruised with? By this disease. He was crushed, bruised, destroyed, smite, oppress, beat to pieces, also humble. That's how I'm going to show you that it's Hezekiah. Because guess what? I'm just going to say, if Hezekiah didn't humble himself with this disease, Yah straight up said in Chronicles that he was going to destroy Judah. That's how I'm going to show you that was Hezekiah. So let's go back. The man was bruised. He was bruised by the disease. For our iniquities. Yes, he was bruised for your iniquities, Judah. This individual, Hezekiah, if you read 2 Kings, you can clearly see Hezekiah was bruised for your iniquity. He got the disease. And it was tested by Yah. Yah was proving him to see what he's going to do. And it was up to him. Hezekiah did fail too. That's why Israel went into captivity. But we're going to see in 2 Chronicles, you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. Y'all going to see. All right. It says, the chastisement. This is the funny thing about this verse. This is the funny thing about this verse. It said he was wounded for our transgressions, which means he was bruised. He was afflicted. He had got a disease for their transgressions. He was bruised. He was profaned for our iniquities. The chastisement. The chastisement. You telling me Christ got killed to correct him? Christ was killed to correct him? Christ was killed so he could get corrected? Are you serious? But what was the correction of Christ? What did Christ correct? He ain't correct nothing. That's the funny thing about verse 5. So let's look at this word chastisement. Let's look at this word chastisement. Y'all think chastise means getting your butt whooped? Because after you get chastised, that means you're still living. What did Christ do for him to get corrected? That's what chastising means. Like when you chastise your son, you beating him to correct him. Christ died. What the heck? That's our favorite verse. New Testament believers, that's your favorite verse. That's the funny. It's so funny. It's so funny. I can understand why y'all use this word Israel. I mean, y'all use Isaiah 53 says Israel too. I'm just showing you from how I believe it's Hezekiah point of view. You know what I'm saying? You know, I ain't knocked the fact that it could be Israel too. I haven't knocked that either. Because I seen from that angle how it could be too. Okay, but here's the word chastisement in Isaiah chapter 5. I mean chapter 53, verse 5. And it is the word mukar or musor. And it says, it's Strong's number H4148, musor. And the word chastise means instruction, correction, chastisement, chastisement, check, to bound, discipline, doctrine, rebuker, discipline, chastising, correction, discipline, correction, chastising. Figuratively, reprove, warning, or instruction, restraint, bound, chastising, chastising, check, correction, discipline, doctrine, rebuke, the correction of children by parents of nations, by kings of men, by God. Withhold not correction from child. He loses or dissolves the correction or discipline of kings, their authority, the correction of the Almighty. This dude was just getting chastised, not killed, but chastised. And Yah was proving him. So let's look at this same word chastisement in other verses. And know ye this day. This is Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 2. It says, know ye this day, for I speak not with your children, which have not known, which have not seen the chastisement of Yahuwah your God, his greatness and his mighty hand, and his stretched out arm. He looses the bond. That's what chastise means. He heard the check. That's what chastise means. He opened also their ear to discipline and command that they return from their iniquity. Chastisement. It's a discipline. Why was Christ disciplined when he did nothing? That doesn't make sense. But Hezekiah, he did do something. He got prideful in his heart. And 2 Chronicles. So Yah had proved Hezekiah. He proved Hezekiah. But I'm going to show you up top, you can't use verse 5 anymore. You can't use it if you want to talk about Christ. He said, here's the part. It says, for he was wounded for our transgression, and he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace. They basically saying, as he get chastised, we will have peace. They will have peace. When Hezekiah got chastised in the not in the New Testament. When Hezekiah got chastised in Chronicles, Israel had got peace in Hezekiah's days. So Yah had to correct him in order for the house of Judah to get peace in 2 Chronicles. That was why he got chastised. He said, the chastising of peace was upon him, and with his stripes we were healed. Yah actually did heal Judah after Hezekiah was chastised with disease. It happened. And we're going to go to it so you can see, my brothers and sisters. Yeah, the original didn't say it was. Yeah, in Psalms 22, that woman saying, it didn't say that. It said, like lions, they surround my hand and my feet. It never said nothing about peers in Psalms 22, verse 16. Now, let's look at verse 6. And we don't really have to go into the Hebrew on this one, because we know exactly what verse 6 means. If you've been reading your scriptures, he said, we like sheep have gone astray. How did they go astray? By chasing the idols and serving other gods and not keeping Yah's commandments. We have turned everyone his own way. They started doing what they wanted to do. And Yahuwah had laid on him the iniquity of all us. What was the iniquity? The error of all us. What was that? What was that? What did Yah afflict this individual with? Let's go back to it. Disease, a sickness. Now let's go back. Verse 7. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before shears is dumb. So he opened not his mouth. Christ said, Eli, Eli, why have you forsaken me? He opened his mouth. Another cut to show you is not him. He opened his mouth. And the guy came, the polite came to him and said, do you want some wine? He was like, no. I thought he was dumb. I thought he couldn't speak. After he asked them about the wine, then they turned around and stabbed him. Come on now. I thought he didn't open his mouth. But it said, here's the funny thing about it. In the context of Isaiah chapter 53, verse 8, the word prison is not really there. It said he was taken from prison. Let's see. It says oppression, barren, and also do got the word prison, but it says oppression. The guy was oppressed. He was restrained, barren as a womb, constraint, oppression, shattering up, restraint. Let's go down to other verses to see. Again, they mimicked and brought low, though only through oppression and affliction and sorrow. So, Proverbs 30, verse 16. The grave, the barren womb, the earth is barren. So the word prison, oppression, and all that share the same word. So they just picking wordplay. But it really didn't say this dude was taken to prison. It literally told you the verses before. They said this dude was oppressed. He wasn't taken to prison. His judgment was disease. He was chastised. And it says, who shall declare his generation? Yahuwah is going to declare his generation because the kings after him was Cain. It says, for he was cut off out of the land of the living. He was not cut off out of the land of the living. For the transgressions of my people, he was stricken. Stricken what? With disease. Actually, he was cut off from the land of the living. Yes, he was. After his 15 years was up, he died. He knew exactly when he was going to die. So, yeah, he did. All right. Verse 9. And it says, he made his grave. He made his what? It said he made his grave. So this individual made his own grave. What's up? He made his grave, his sepulcher, with the wicked and with the rich, which Hezekiah, he really did in his death, because he had done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth. And it says, yet it pleased Yahuwah to bruise him and to put him to grief. Again, it says to be, hold on, is this the same word? This is not the same word. Yeah, it is the same. Hold on, I'm gonna have to go back up. It says sick, be weak, grievous, be diseased, be wounded, grieve, sore, pain. And it says to become weak or to become sick or become diseased, become grieved, to become sorry. But we know it meant this man was becoming sick. It says to be sick, to be weak, feel weak, to become sick, become ill, to make oneself sick, to be sick, over and over again. That's all you're seeing. And that it says to be wounded, to be sick. So that's all we're seeing, that this man was made sick. Weak, weak, weak. Supplication. Isaiah 19:14. And when Saul sent messengers to David, she said, he is sick. Hmm? Yeah. Yeah. Now, it said he was sick. So okay then. Yeah, it pleased Yahuwah to bruise him and have put him to sick, to put him with disease. When thou shalt make his soul, who shall make his soul? When Yahuwah shall make his soul an offering, a gift for sin. He gave his soul to sin. He shall see if his seed shall prolong his days. Yah was testing this individual. He was testing him. He gave him over to sin. Thus, he got the disease. So he may see what will happen. If he prevail, he's going to prolong and see his seed, his offspring. So let's see what that is. What is seed? It says seed, a child, carnally, fruitful, seed time, seed. It says seed, sowing offspring, seed, sermon, offspring, which is semen. It says descendants, prosperity, children. And we know it's not talking about no harvest and none of that junk. Y'all know that. Come on now. But it means him seeing his child, his offspring, his generations after him. That's all it's talking about. Christ did not live to see his children because the brother didn't even have children. He didn't have children at all. He didn't have children. So that's about 4 or 5 cuts proving already that it's not Christ already. And it says prolong his days, which means prolong his life. Not him dying, then coming back to life. It's his life. And the pleasure of YAHUAH shall prosper in his hand. And Hezekiah did prosper in his hand. Now it says he shall see the travail, which means his sorrow of his soul. By what? With his disease. And shall be satisfied. Why should he be satisfied? Because his life was prolonged. By his knowledge of what? Shall my righteous servant justify many, for he shall bear their iniquities. He's going to justify the house of Judah. Therefore will I divide him a portion with the great. Did not Yah did that for Hezekiah? What portion was divided for Jesus Christ? Nothing. The dude died with nothing. He shall divide the spoil. What is a spoil? What is the spoil? What is the spoil, people? This proof that it ain't bound. Plunder, spoil, booty. Prey, booty. Spoil, plunder of war. The gain. Y'all know what that is. The gain. Jewelry. When they go destroying other places, what did they take back? The spoil. Then they split the spoil. Let's go back in the scriptures and see. The enemy said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the spoil. Numbers 13:11. And they took all the spoil and all the prey. Let's go down when they was having war. And behold, the servants of David and Joab came from pursuing their troop and brought a great spoil with them. When did Jesus ever brought back spoil? When did he ever brought back spoil and divided it? That didn't happen. That didn't happen. Don't be deceived, people, by these people out here trying to use these scriptures and try to connect it to Christ when they don't got nothing to do with him. With the strong, because he had poured out his soul unto death. It didn't say that he died. He said he poured out his soul unto death, unto the grave. But he didn't die. But he knew when he was going to die. And he was numbered with the transgressors. And he bore the sin of many and made intercession for the transgressors. And when he made intercession, you know what that means? He entreated. It was nasty. He entreated. It says to encounter, to meet, to reach, to make intercession, to meet, to lay upon, to join, to meet, to encounter, to fall upon, to cause to light upon, to cause to entreat, to make attack, to make the march, by accident or violence, or figuratively or importantly come betwixt. Because entreat, fall. It says to pray to reach. And I'm going to show you when Hezekiah prayed for the nation of Israel. So now we're going to go to Bible Hub. We're going to go to Bible Hub. We're going to go to Bible Hub, right? And I'm going to show you there was King Hezekiah. I'm going to show you there was King Hezekiah. So we're going to go to we're going to go to 2 Chronicles. I'm going to show you that this man had got disease. It was him. Dang, where Chronicles at? Okay, here we go. It was Chronicles chapter... It was chapter 32. Chronicles chapter 32. We're going to start there. All right. We're going to start at Chronicles chapter 32. I hope everybody paying attention. The man that despised Hezekiah was the Assyrians. They hated and they rejected him. Okay. We're going to go all the way down to verse 24. Now, here we go. It says, in those days, Hezekiah was sick even unto death. What did it say? He poured out his soul unto death. That's what it said in Isaiah 53, didn't it? And he prayed unto YAHUAH, and he spoke unto him and gave him a sign. But guess what? Hezekiah didn't hearken to the sign. Remember the part when I told you in Isaiah 53 that the guy had to humble himself? He had to humble himself. That's the reason y'all gave him a disease, because he got prideful in his heart. But you're going to see. So you see right there, Yah had gave him the disease, even though Hezekiah, he was righteous. But it says, but Hezekiah rendered not according to the benefit done unto him. For his heart was lifted up. His heart was lifted up. His heart was lifted up. He became prideful. Hezekiah became prideful. That's the reason he was afflicted with disease. Now it says, therefore, there was wrath upon him and upon Judah and Jerusalem. Why? Because Hezekiah's heart was lifted up. He was prideful. Notwithstanding, this how Hezekiah bare the iniquity of Israel. He saved Israel from his prideful heart. He humbled himself. It says Hezekiah humbled himself for the pride of his heart, both he and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, so that the wrath of YAHUAH came not upon them in the days of Hezekiah. Now, if you go back to Isaiah 53, let's go back to Isaiah 53. You go back to Isaiah 53. What did it say? He was chastised for what? It says, but he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. This is Judah. The chastisement of our peace, the correction of our peace was upon him. With his stripes we were healed. Let's go up. Since y'all just seen that, I'm showing you that it was Hezekiah. And it says, notwithstanding, Hezekiah humbled himself from the pride of his heart, both the inhabitants of Jerusalem, so that the wrath of YAHUAH came not upon them in the days of Hezekiah. Now, if you read right here, it says Hezekiah had exceedingly much riches and honor. Why you think it said he made his grave with the what? The rich and the wicked? If he would have remained prideful, sent to death. But you're not listening. You're not listening. Now it says, he provided him treasures for silver, for gold, and for precious stones, and for spices, and for shields, and for many of the godly vessels, storehouses, for the increase of corn, and wine, and oil, and stalls of many beasts. Hold up. Do I really have to read the rest of this? Okay, so the next one I'm going to go to, since y'all seen that part, since y'all seen that this dude got stricken with disease. So the next one I'm going to go to is 2 Kings. The next one I'm going to go to is 2 Kings. Show you that I'm not lying, that it is Hezekiah. 2 Kings chapter 20. And we're going to read it. Now, to show you that the guy was righteous, Hezekiah was righteous. Again, Isaiah 53 was talking about a man with disease. And he even said he was going to punish Israel. If Hezekiah didn't humble himself, he was going to destroy Israel. That's why he bared the sins of them. It was up to him. It was only up to him. That's how he tested them, by putting Hezekiah with this sickness to see what he do if he would humble his prideful heart, according to 2 Chronicles chapter 30. Now this is 2 Kings chapter 20. It said, in those days Hezekiah is sick unto death, and Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amos, came to him and said unto him, thus saith YAHUAH, set thy house in order, for thou shalt die and not live. Then he turned his face to the wall and prayed unto YAHUAH, saying, remember now, O YAHUAH, I beseech thee, how I walked before you in truth and with a whole heart, and have done that which was good in thy sight. And Hezekiah wept sore. Hezekiah wept sore. Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on. He weeps sore. What did it say that this dude did? He had sorrow. He said he had sorrow. Hezekiah weeping sore for what? From the disease? Just like in Isaiah 53 was talking about. It said that what? Hold on. Let me get to it. It said that, where is it? Where it say he had knowledge? It says he was despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows, and acquainted with grief, disease. Then we go back. He was a man of sorrows. He was acquainted with disease. Let's read it again. It says, in the days that Hezekiah was sick unto death, then Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amos, came unto him and said unto him, thus saith YAHUAH, set thy house in order, for thou shalt die and not live. Then he turned his face to the wall and prayed to YAHUAH, saying, remember now, O YAHUAH, I beseech you. How? I beseech you. He said, how I have walked before you in truth and with a whole heart, and have done that which was good in thy sight. And Hezekiah wept sore. He was a man of sorrow. A man of sorrow. But you're not listening. And it says, and it came to pass before Isaiah was gone out of the inner court of the city. It says, thus saith Yahuwah, the God of David, I have heard thy prayer, I have seen thy tears. Behold, I will heal you. On the third day thou shalt go out of the house of Yahuwah, and I will add unto thy days 15 years, and I will deliver this city out of the hand of the Syria, and I will defend the city for David's sake. Thus saith Yahuwah. It said, he was talking about the figs and everything. He was going to defend the city and gave him 15 more years. But what did Isaiah 53 says? What do Isaiah 53 say? My bad. Go back up. Isaiah 53. What does it say? We get down to verse 10. Yet it pleased Yahuwah to bruise him. He had put him to grief. By what? Disease. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin. What was his sin? He had a heart of pride. He humbled himself and he prayed to Yah. He shall see his seed. He shall prolong his days. Did Yah prolong his days? Go back. Wait a minute. Go back. And it says, I have heard thy prayer. I have seen thy tears, which means his sorrow. I will heal you. On the third day thou shalt go out of the house of Yahuwah, and I will add unto you 15 more years, and I will defend the city from Assyria. How did they divide the spoil? It said in Kings that they was going to divide. I mean, in Isaiah 53 that he was going to divide the spoil with the mighty, didn't it? All right. Let's see. I got to finish. I got to see the part where he said, let's go. I remember saying, and the treasure I said, and Hezekiah, the word of Yahuwah. All right, here we go. When it said that, remember where it said that, through his chastisement we will have peace, and it says, this is verse 19. It says, then said Hezekiah unto Isaiah, good is the word of Yahuwah, which thou hast spoken. He said, moreover, is it not so? If peace and truth shall be in my days, if Hezekiah got peace, then the whole nation of Judah gonna have peace. Y'all need to understand that. So now, hold up. Let me make sure I got everything that I need. Let me make sure I got everything that I need before I stand in the pride of your heart. Oh yeah, I do got to go back to second. I do got to go back to yeah, I got to go back to Second Chronicles. I got to go back to Second Chronicles to show you that Yah was doing this. He had afflicted him to just test him. That's all he did. I got to go to Chronicles chapter 32. And it was actually at verse 31 after Yah had healed him. And it says, howbeit in the business of the ambassadors of the princes of Babylon who sent him to acquire the wonder that was done in the land, God, the Most High, had left him, Hezekiah, to try him. God, the Most High, had left Hezekiah to try him, that he might know all that was in his heart. That's the reason Hezekiah was getting chastised. And up here, what did he chastise him with? He chastised him with a sickness, a disease. Now, the next thing we're going to go to is the prayer of the other story of Hezekiah in the book of Isaiah. So we're gonna go to Isaiah 38. We're gonna go to Isaiah 38, and we're gonna prove. We're still giving furthermore edification of proving that Isaiah 53 indeed is Hezekiah. Now we're going to start at verse 9. It's Hezekiah's prayer. His whole entire prayer was about the whole situation. All right. Now it says, the writing of Hezekiah, king of Judah, when he had been sick, when he was grieved, and was recovered of his sickness. Now check this out, boy. This is for to make y'all, whoo, how y'all say he went to the grave and made intercession. He was just, all he was doing, he was thinking about himself dying. That's all he was thinking about. He wasn't literally dead, going to the grave, making intercession for people. Because y'all, he gonna straight up tell you, when you go to the grave, y'all cannot hear you. He gonna tell you that. So what makes you think Christ is there making an intercession for you when you go to the grave? But it says, I said in the noontide of my days I shall go, even to the gates of the nether world, which is Sheol, which is the grave. I am deprived of my residues of my years. Did it say in Isaiah 53 and 10 that he was going to prolong his years? I said I should not see YAHUAH, even YAHUAH in the land of the living. Did it say he cut his life from the land of the living? And it says, I shall behold, I shall see man no more with the habitations of this world. He was cut off of the land of the living. Come on now. My habitations is plucked up and carried away from me as a shepherd's tent. I have rolled up like a reverse my life. He will cut off me from the theorem, or from the land of the living. It says, from day, evening to night, wilt thou make an end of me? Why is the righteous king Hezekiah making this prayer? Isaiah 53, they said this dude ain't did nothing. Isaiah 53, they said this dude had got a disease. Y'all said in Second Chronicles that he was gonna test Hezekiah by giving him this disease, and that also that was gonna be the test to prove. The test of whether to see if he was going to destroy Judah. It was up to Hezekiah. Hezekiah bore the sins of Israel. If he didn't humble himself, if he would have died by that disease, Judah would have been destroyed by Assyria. And that's facts. Now, it says, my habitation is plucked up and carried away from me as a shepherd's tent. I have rolled up like a river of my life. Oh yeah, I already read that part. And it says, the more I make myself like unto a lion until morning, the more I breaketh all my bones. From day even to night wilt thou make an end of me. Like a swallow of a crane, so do I chatter. I do moan as a dove. Why? Because he is in sorrow. My eyes fail me looking upward. He's in sorrow. O YAHUAH, I am oppressed. O YAHUAH, I am oppressed. Be thou my surety. What did Isaiah 53 say? Did Isaiah 53 say this man was oppressed? Yes, it did. What shall I say? He hath both spoken unto me, and himself have done it. I surely go softly all my years for my bitterness of my soul. O YAHUAH, by these things in men life, and altogether therein is the life of my spirit. Wherefore recover thou me, and make me to live. Now Hezekiah is begging y'all to please let me live, prolong my life. prolong my life. That's going according to Isaiah 53 verse 10. Behold, my peace I had great bitterness. Why? Because of his disease. But thou hast in love to my soul delivered from the pit of corruption, from the pit of the wicked. He saved him from the grave. But y'all ain't listening. For thou hast cast all my sins behind thy back. For the another world, which is Sheol, which is the grave cannot praise you. So how can you go to the grave and make intercession from the dead when he just said the grave cannot praise you? Automatic cut for Christ. And it says death cannot celebrate you. They that go down into the pit cannot hope for thy truth. How can he go down to the pit? How can Christ go down to the pit and make intercession for you? Showing you that the story of Lazarus was a whole lie. The living, it says the living, he shall praise you as I do this day. The Father to the children shall make known thy truth. Prolong his life so he may see his children. Yahuwah is ready to save me, which he did. Therefore, we will sing songs with strings and instruments. Do you know when that happened? Go to Chronicles. And it says, all the days of our life, the house of Yahuwah. It said, and Isaiah said, let them take a cake and fizz. Then he said, he shall recover. And that's what happened. So I just showed you from the linguistic side, proving to you that Isaiah 53 indeed is King Hezekiah. He the one that got the disease. He was in sorrow. Y'all talked about prolonging his life. He told you why he gave him the disease, because his heart, which is mine, was prideful, and he used that to bore the sins of the iniquity of Israel. If Hezekiah would have died by that disease, then Jerusalem would have been destroyed by Assyria. If you could find that out in Second Chronicles chapter 20 all the way up to 32. That's how he bore the sins of Israel. Nothing to do with Christ Jesus, period. Because Hezekiah was the only righteous one left. Because if Hezekiah would have got destroyed, if he would have continued in his powerfulness of his riches and everything, then it would have been over with for Jerusalem. But what happened after Hezekiah died and lived up to his 15 years? What happened? Israel got destroyed. And who was the ones that despised King Hezekiah? Let's go to that. Let me show you who despised King Hezekiah. It was the tribe of Ephraim and Manasseh and Zebulun, and also the Assyrians. And I'm going to show you the ones who despised and rejected him. So let me show you that. And also, I'm going to show you also how Hezekiah made intercession for the house of Israel. It was for the Passover. So let me go back and let me show you that. We're going to go to Second Chronicles chapter 29. We're going to go to Second Chronicles chapter 30. Christ ain't made no intercession for no house of Israel. So we're going to go to Second Chronicles chapter 30. We're going to start at verse 17. We're going to read on out to verse 19. This is where Hezekiah made intercession for the house of Israel. It says, for there were many in the congregation that had not sanctified themselves. Therefore the Levites had the charge of killing the Passover lambs for everyone that was not clean, proving that you cannot keep no holy day while you defiled. And it says to sanctify them unto Yahuwah. For the multitude of the people, even many of Ephraim, Manasseh, and Issachar. Hold on, wait. Let me go back. That ain't the part when they despised him. It was at verse 10. Let me go back up. That's when he made intercession for them. Let me show you the ones that despised him. Now, I'm going to start at verse 9. It says, if ye turn back unto Yahuwah, your brethren, your children shall find compassion before them that led them captive, and shall come back into this land. For Yahuwah your God is gracious and merciful, and will not turn away his face from you, if ye return unto Yahuwah. So the post passed from city to city through this country of Ephraim and Manasseh, even into Zebulun. But they laughed them to scorn and mocked them. They laughed at the words of Hezekiah. They're laughing at the words of Hezekiah. They despised him. Nevertheless, the other nations came, but not them. Now let's go down right here where I was reading it. Verse 18. We're starting at 17. Showing you how he made intercession to Yah. He told Yah to pardon them. Because he was just telling them to come down for the Passover, and they laughed at Hezekiah's words with his messengers that he sent. They mocked him. They rejected him. They despised him. They didn't want to listen. And it says, and that's the reason they went into captivity too. It says, for there were many in the congregation that had not sanctified themselves. Therefore, the Levites had the charge of killing the Passover lambs for everyone that was not clean, to sanctify them unto Yahuwah. For a multitude of the people, even many of Ephraim and Manasseh, Issachar and Zebulun, had not cleansed themselves, yet did they eat the Passover otherwise than it was written. For Hezekiah had prayed for them, saying, the good Yahuwah pardon everyone that sitteth his heart to seek God. Yahuwah, the God of his fathers, through he be it not cleansed according to the purification and pardon to the holy things. And Yahuwah hearkened to Hezekiah and healed the people. Through his stripes we were healed. Come on. And it says, and the children of Israel were presented at Jerusalem and kept the feast of unleavened bread 7 days with the gladness. And so on and so on. So, you see it right there. You see it right there. That's all I really have to say, man. Isaiah 53 broke down through the linguistics point of view. And I backed it up with scripture proving that it was Hezekiah. And yes, I had to go all over the place because Hezekiah got 3 different stories from Isaiah's point of view, from 2 Kings' point of view, and from 2 Chronicles' point of view. You got to go to all 3 to understand Isaiah 53 if we're going to say Hezekiah is Isaiah 53. So, shalom. That's all I have to say. I hope this video was edifying for you. Pass it on to people and let them review the whole thing. Shalom.